Polarizing microscopy. A polarizing microscope enables specific properties of matter to be viewed while simultaneously hiding others. The overall image will typically mostly come through, but specific portions of it will be highlighted. This is a modification to a traditional compound microscope. Everything else is the same on the compound microscope, but it has this extra polarizing stuff built into it instead. So basic principles of polarization. Light can be considered to be traveling either in waves or as individual photon units, as particles. This process exploits its nature as a wave. So when you have something that, when an object is hit by light in a wave, it reflects back in a characteristic way. The waves will travel in multiple directions at once, so you can have it bouncing off of the object like that, or side to side, or in a totally different plane that I can't draw in 2 dimensions here. All different types of directions, which is pretty well illustrated here. A polarizer is basically just a box here with slits in it, so that only wavelengths of light that are going in a wavelength direction parallel to the slits can go through. Wavelengths that are side to side to it, perpendicular, cockeyed to it, diagonal to it, whatever, are just blocked. Only stuff that's going the same direction as the slits can get through. So it aligns wavelengths and it selects for specific wavelengths. At the end, there's something called an analyzer, which either blocks those wavelengths or allows them to go through. Depending on the angle that you're holding the polarizer at and the analyzer at, you can select for specific directions of wavelengths of light to go through or not. Polarizing sunglasses work like this, only minus the analyzer. You have glare from a rainy day, it was raining and then the sun comes out and then you're just blinded, right? There's glare like crazy. That glare is light being transmitted at high intensity in lots of different directions. When you put on your polarizing sunglasses, it has these horizontal slits basically built into the lenses that only allows light going in that direction to come through. Lots of light comes into those glasses. You can still see everything, but only from the wavelengths that are going in a certain direction. All that extra information, that extra light information that's reflecting around like crazy is totally blocked out from your eyes. You can see how you can manipulate those effects by putting on a pair of polarizing sunglasses and tilting on a day like this, and then tilting your head. And you can see how the image that you see changes. So parts of a polarizing microscope, like we had mentioned, this is basically a compound microscope with additional modifications. The main important ones are a polarizer and a rotating stage that has a built-in analyzer. So the polarizer forces all the wavelengths of light to come out in the same direction. It can be rotated. You put something on a slide on your stage here. Light is transmitted through the polarizer. Only certain parallel wavelengths of light go through. And they're either allowed to go through the sample or not based on how the analyzer in the rotating stage is aligned. If it's the same direction, great. The light can transmit through and you can see those wavelengths of light. If not, then you can't see it. Things like crystals will reflect light in very specific ways. Anything that has a crystallized nature to it, a lot of metals and minerals. And you can exploit the fact that it's going to reflect in specific wavelength directions by using this. If it's reflecting in this direction and your polarizer is going to allow that to go through, then you can confirm that that mineral is present. If you have something that's going at a different, see, it's hard to draw this stuff in 2D. But if your wavelength is going a different direction and your polarizer is oriented to a different mineral, then it won't be able to go through, and you can confirm that that sample is not the mineral that you thought it was. Benefits of polarizing microscopy. You can identify specific properties or elements of matter, especially those of crystalline structures, like we just talked about. Things like metals will orient themselves naturally into crystalline structures, into these regular repeating molecular structures over and over. They'll reflect light in a very specific, characterizable way. You can orient your polarizer and analyzer to let those wavelengths through. If you think something is iron, you can orient your stuff to reflect the wavelengths for iron. If it passes through, then it's probably iron, and if it doesn't, it's probably not. Still has a high magnification. You have all the regular stuff involved with compound microscopy, all those basic benefits, because you can still see the thing overall at the other end of this in the eyepiece. Major drawbacks are in basically departmental burden type of drawbacks. It's delicate. Of course, there's more stuff going on. You have very precise instrumentation built into it, extra over and beyond compound microscope. So, you know, it's more breakable. It's a bigger pain when it does break because, whoops, you're going to need more specialized maintenance. That's going to be more expensive. It might be more time consuming to do. It might be harder to get people out to do it. And of course, in the personnel using the microscope within your department, you need to be specifically trained and have some a good background of knowledge about how light works and how different minerals work, about crystallization, to be able to really understand the results that you get from polarizing microscopy.